So in this lesson, we're going to look at how we calculate sales tax, tips, and markup. Sales tax is something you pay extra, tips you pay extra, markup you pay extra. So these all add to your bill. If you buy something, you pay the tax on top of it. If you go to a restaurant, you order your meal, you pay a tip on top of it. If you're selling a product, you buy Takis, and you buy them for 50 cents a bag, and you decide to sell them for $1 a bag, there's a markup. You're the seller, you're getting a markup. That's how you make your profit. So let's go through this real world link, and you should have your book open to page 151 right now. And let's take a look. We have a guy named Alonzo, and he's going to buy himself a kayak. That kayak cost $2,100. He buys it, though, and he lives in a place where they charge a tax of 7%. So this 7% is additional. Go ahead and write that in, because you want to get that idea down that tax, tips, markups are all an additional cost to you. So step one, find the amount of tax that you're going to pay by multiplying by the percentage. Here's a quick reminder for you. There's a video on the website, but a quick reminder, when you have 7% tax, that's equal to the decimal 0.07. That's moving the decimal point from this spot, from the end, over the two places. Again, thinking back to your 6th grade class, you called those the butt cheeks. So you had the two butt cheek move. So to find out how much tax he's going to pay, we're going to take the amount of the kayak, $2,100, and we're going to multiply it by the percentage for the tax. So let's grab our calculator out, and we're going to multiply $2,100 times the 0.07. Got to make sure you have that placeholder 0. It equals $147. Now, when he buys the kayak, he doesn't just give him $147. That would be just giving the tax. He pays the tax on top of the rest of the cost of the kayak. So let's go down and fill out this receipt. Right over here, part 2, fill out the receipt from Jimmy's Kayaks. Well, the kayak itself, $2,100. Jimmy gets that amount. The state gets the $147. They use that to repair roads, build bridges, run schools, that type of stuff. The total is what happens when you put those together. So the total amount that Alonzo is going to write a check for, or put on his credit card, or hit his PayPal account up for, $2,247. Now, in part 3, they ask you, what happens when you multiply the 2,100 by 1.07? So go ahead and do that. Take a minute, pause the video, and do part 3. See what you get. All right, so let's see what you had. If you take the 2,100, and now they're saying multiply it by 1.07, not 0.07, but 1.07, what do you get? Well, what you should have had as an answer is the same thing, $2,247. Why does that work? How come we can do that and get the same answer that we got here? Well, because here we only got the tax and then we had to add it back in. When you do that 1.07, that 1.07 is the kayak plus the tax. It's all in one place. Break it down a little further. When you do that 1.07, the 1 is that. It's 2,100 times 1. The 0.07 is right here. It's 2,100 times 1.07. So in one place you get them both. This is how I would do it. If I was figuring out what the cost was, I wouldn't figure it out separately and then add it. I would go ahead and multiply the original by 1.07 because I get both. Okay, once again, you're going to do a pause. You're going to pause and you're going to solve part 4. You're going to check out Alonzo's doing a kayaking trip and he hires a guide. Costs $50. He wants to give the guide a 10% tip. Find out the amount of the tip and explain how you would do that. So we have 2 ways we could find out the amount of the tip. One way would be to take the $50 and multiply it by 10% as a decimal. 10% is equal to the decimal 0.10. We don't need that extra 0, but you know what? A lot of students find it helpful to put it there to start with, just so they can see a 10 here and a 0.10 here. And that's great. 10% of $50 is $5. Take the $50 that the guide charges plus the $5 that he wants to leave for a tip, and he would give the guide $55. The other way you could do it would be to take the $50 and multiply it by 1.10, where 1, this is the guide right here. So the 1 is the cost of the guide, and the 0.10 is the amount of the tip. And if we multiply that together, grab our calculator again, we multiply 50 times 1.1, we get the same 55. Notice that that saves us the step of adding here. We're actually adding them together right there instead of multiplying it out and then adding it to the original. So let's go to the next page and look at a couple of examples. So sales tax is what you charge on the items people buy. Lots of things have tax, usually what we call durable goods, things like shoes and books, iPhones, computers. Candy sometimes has tax. Usually things that are food products that you buy in a grocery store, like you buy milk or you buy a loaf of bread, those things aren't taxed. If you buy food at a store, they usually tax it because they talk about it, or at a restaurant, I mean, because they talk about being prepared food. So here's an example. Drew wants to buy exercise equipment that costs $140. The tax is 5.75. What's the total cost? Notice anytime you're looking at tax, this is really the question. What's the total cost? Because that's what you pay. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I like that exercise equipment. Here's $140. They're going to say, hang on, sir, you need to also pay us 5.75% tax. So notice there are 2 methods that they talk about. In the first method, you find the tax, the 805, right here, and then you add it to the 140 to get the full amount. In the second method, you add the 100%. This is the equipment right here. Go ahead and write this in your book. That 100% is the equipment itself. You add that to the tax. You get 105.75. Multiply that. And notice you get the same amount either way. Doesn't matter which way you solve it. Solve it whatever works easiest for you. I personally like method 2. I like doing the addition because I can do that in my head pretty much, and then just one multiplication problem. All right, so here's a got it problem. Go ahead, pause the video, do this got it problem, and then turn the video back on and we'll check our work together. Okay, let's look at the cost of that sweatshirt. And I've grabbed my calculator, so I'm ready to do my work. Hopefully you have a calculator that you're using. So we have 2 methods that we can use for this. In the first method, and in fact, in either method, let's get this out of the way. In either method, we have to turn 5.5% into a decimal. Well, we if we were turning 5% into a decimal, if we were just doing 5%, that would be 0.05. 5.5, we need another half there. So this is going to be 0.055. This is the 5 right here. This 5 is that 5. And this second 5 right here is the half. So 5 and the half. So two methods. Method number 1, we would go ahead, we would multiply 42 times 0.055. 42 times 0.055, check my work, yep. And we would get $2.31. And then we would take the 42, we would add the $2.31, and the total amount we would have to pay for that sweater would be $44.31. Our second option is to go ahead and multiply the 42 times 1, there's the cost of the sweater, 0.055. There's the tax. So in this one, if I decide to do it this way, there's the sweater. Here is the tax. All right. So if I do that, if I do 42 times 1.055, you will notice 44.31. 44.31. Answer is the same. Doesn't matter which of those methods you use, you're going to get the same answer. Now let's scroll down and look at tips and markups. So tips and markup, tip is a gratuity. It's an amount you pay somebody because you appreciate the job they did. You go to a restaurant, the waiter makes sure that your water's filled the whole time, makes sure that chips and salsa are on the table if you're at a Mexican restaurant, or breadsticks are on the table if you're at an Italian restaurant. They do a really nice job, and you want to give them a little something extra. Markups come when you're selling a product. So you buy a bag of Takis, or you buy a case of Takis, 100 bags in the case, and the cost of the bags is 50 cents. Well, you decide to sell those. You're not going to sell them for 50 cents. If you do that, you don't make any profit. So you mark them up. The up part, when you see the mark up, you know you're adding something to it. There's actually a thing called a mark down where the price goes down. So let's take a look at an example for that. Customer wants to tip 15% on a restaurant bill that's $35. What will be the total bill with the tip? When you're doing it, you don't just get to leave the tip. It's the total with the tip. So again, just like we did with the others, there are two ways of looking at this. Let me make sure you can read all of that. One is to add the tip to the price. So the bill was $35. Take the 35, our 15%, remember, that becomes 0.15. Multiply it by 35, you get the amount of the tip. This is just the tip now. And you add it to the bill, you get $40.25. The other way to do it, just like we did with the problems where we were doing tax, you got to scroll this so you can really see it. The other way to do it is to add the 15% to the 100% and multiply the 35 by that whole amount, and you'll notice that in either case you are getting the same amount as your final bill, as your total. Okay, so read over that example if you need to check that out some. Now, sometimes let's go down to example 3. Sometimes you have a situation where you have both a tip and the tax. So notice sales tax is $4.75, tip is $15. Together they're going to, or 15%. Together they're going to be 19.75. So you would add those together, change it into the decimal. So in this case, it becomes the decimal 0.1975 because that decimal moves over the butt cheeks, moves over 2. Multiply that by the $20 cost of the haircut. You get $3.95 total. Add that to the cost of the haircut, and you know it's $23.95. The question was, is $25 enough, sufficient? Sufficient means, is it enough? If you only had $25 in your pocket, could you go to get the haircut if you knew there was tax and you wanted to leave a tip? And the answer is yes, there's plenty. Okay, here we are again. It's a got it problem. Oh, it's 2 got it problems. Look at us. Lucky, lucky. Go ahead. Do B. So pause the video. Do B. We'll come back and we'll solve it. And then we'll do the same thing with C. And if you want to do C right away, go ahead and do them both. But if you want to just do B and then wait till we solve it before you do C, you can do that. Okay, so I moved this up here, and we're going to go ahead and do part B up on the top. So we have 20%. So I know that my 20% is going to be 0.20 or 0.2. I'm multiplying that by the $15 that his commute costs. So I have $15 times 0.20. Remember how 10% works. 10% of this would be 1.5. So 20% will be $3. And now I've got the $15 commute plus the $3 tip, 18 all together. And just in case you want a confirmation of my math with knowing the 10%, if you take 15 and you multiply it by 0.2, you're going to get the $3, 18 altogether. You could have gone ahead and multiplied 15 times 1.20, put the commute and the tip together to start with, 15 times 1.20, you'd have also had 18. All right, go ahead, pause again if you need to solve C, and then we'll come back together and solve that one. All right, let's go ahead and do C. So this time they're giving us a combo. $42 is what the spa treatment costs. We have to include 6% tax, and we want to leave a tip. Tax you don't get to choose. If they say there's tax, you have to pay the tax. Tips, you get to pick whether or not you want to. But it was a great spa treatment. We're super relaxed now, so we're going to leave a 20% tip. So we know that we've got 6% tax, 20% tip. So we're going to take those, put them together. We've got 26%. That's 0.26. So we're going to multiply the $42 treatment by 0.26. 42 times 0.26. And we have $10.92. Now we have to be careful. That's not the full cost for us. This is just tax and tip. To get the full cost, we need to go ahead and we need to take the $42 and we need to add the $10.92. And that's going to give us $52.92. This is our total. This is our total. That's what we put on our credit card. Again, remember that you could also do this by taking the $42 and multiplying it by 1. There's the cost of the treatment, 0.26. There's the tax and the tip. If we did that, 42 times 1.26, we get the same $52.92. $52.92. So we have a choice. We have a choice of whether we want to do it separately, then add it back, or whether we want to multiply by the 1.26. I kind of like this method. There's just fewer places to make a mistake. I don't have to worry about the addition part so much. All right, I've jumped to the next page. We have one more concept to cover, and that's the concept of markup. Now, before you worry that, gosh, we're doing a lot of stuff this lesson, remember, it's really all the same type of thing. They are all places where you're adding to your bill or you're adding to your cost. So in this last one on markup, there's a store that pays $56 for a GPS navigation system. They mark it up 25%. See, the store, this is the store cost right here. The store pays the $56. It wouldn't make any sense for them to sell it for $56. They need to make a profit. They need to pay their employees. They need to pay their electricity bill. So they have to mark it up. In this case, they're marking it up 25%. So our steps really are the same. Think about what that 25% is going to be as a decimal. That's how they got their 0.25. Multiply it by the cost of the item. Here is the markup. This is just, that's what that M stands for. There's the markup. Add that to the $56 that they pay for it. And here is the customer cost. That's what the $70 represents. That's what you, if you're going in to buy that GPS system, you pay the $70. So here's one more got it problem for you to try. Go ahead, store pays $150 for a portable basketball backboard, marks it up 40%. What's the selling price? Let's get this where we've got some room to work when you come back. Okay, you had your chance to work that one out. Let's go ahead and solve it. So we pay $150 for the item. We're going to mark it up 40%. I'm going to go ahead and do this by doing 1.40. When I do 1.40, here are my two parts. That one, the 1 equals the cost of the backboard. That's what the company is paying for the backboard. This 0.40 right here, this 0.40 is the markup. That's where the company's going to make its profit. So when we do the multiplication, when we take the 150 and we multiply it by the 1.4 and get $210, that $210 is what it costs the customer. You walk in, if this is a Big 5, you walk into Big 5 and say, I want that backboard. How much is it? And the guy looks at the tag and he goes, it's $210. Big 5 paid $150 for it. They marked it up by the additional $60 and then sold it to you, and that's how they make their profit. Okay, so you've got some guided practice problems to do down here. Let me get rid of that calculator. So go ahead and do problems 1 through 4. 1 through 4, and then we're going to come back and solve them. So give yourself a chance to try those. All right, let's finish out by going over these problems. So $295 with a 5% tax. So we've got, and they want total cost on these. It's good to know. You have to know what they want. If they just say, what's the tax or what's the tip, then you have to answer that. But in this case, they want the total cost. And rounded to the nearest cent. When we round to the nearest cent, we think about going to the hundredths place. We're not going past hundredths. So $2.95 times 5% tax as a decimal. $2.95 times 5% tax. The tax itself is 0. Now you'll notice it's 147 That 4 is the hundredth place, so that 7 tells us round that 4 up. It's more than halfway, which means the tax is 15 cents. So we would have the $2.95, add the 15 cents, and we have $3.10. We could get the same $3.10 if we did the $2.95 times 1.05. The 1 is the cost of the notebook. The 5, the 0.05, is the tax. And notice we get the same thing. We get 3.097. That 7 rounds that 9 up, makes it a 10, which means we have to put a 1 there. We get $3.10. Let's slide that out of the way and clear it out. And let's do number 2. So in number 2, we have $28 for lunch, and we're leaving a 15% tip, 0.15. So 28, oops, not 25, 28 times 0.15 equals $4.20. That's the tip. So to figure out the full amount, that's just the tip now. Figure out the full amount, we have to take the $28, we have to add the $4.20, and we get $32.20. That's our final answer. Back here, our final answer was the $3.10. We could solve this in one step if we add the lunch and the tip together, 1.15. There's the lunch, there's the tip. Multiply that by 28, and we get the same $32.20. All right, let's get that calculator up and out of the way a little bit, clear it out. Jamie went to a mechanic. Jamie went to have a manicure that cost $30. She wanted to tip the technician $20. The tax is $5.75. How much does she spend in total? You don't, by the way, you never pay tax on the tip. That's why we can add them together. So we're going to add those together, 20 and 25, or 20 and 5. So we know that altogether, the tip of 20, the tax of 5.75 gives us 25.75. which as a decimal is 0.2575. We don't round, by the way. We don't get rid of the 75 at the end of this yet. We wait until it's the money, and then we get rid of it. Let's go ahead and take the $30, and let's multiply it by 1. That's the cost of the manicure itself. 0.2575, that's the tax and the tip. So 30 times 1.2575 gives us $37.725. That 5 tells us we're more than halfway to the next penny, so it's 0.73. That's the total cost. Do a better circle there. That's the total cost of the manicure and the tax and the tip. All right, last one. Find the selling price of a karaoke machine with a 60.5 markup. So here's the markup. 60.5%. 60.5% equals 0.605. So we're going to take the $62 and 25% $25 karaoke machine. We're going to multiply it by 1.0605. So there's the cost of the machine. This is the machine, this one. This amount right here is the markup. And when we multiply that together, 62.25 times 1.605, we get $99 and 91125. Well, 9, there's the 10-cent part, and there's the 1 penny. That one doesn't change it. The cost for a customer coming in to buy that karaoke machine is $99.91. Okay, so go back over whatever you need to go over here and come to class with questions, because our next step is going to do a bunch of practice in class. Thanks for listening to this video.